Hello, VOD people. Skip forward if you like, otherwise we're chilling out. I need to get things going, because I haven't quite done that. I was distracted. So let me do all the things that I'm supposed to do. There we go. That's the right link. And where's my picture? Where's the picture? Where? Where did you go? There we go! Oh, that actually needs the Twitch link, otherwise that's a little useless. There we go. Okay. And then Blue Sky, and I still need to get Minecraft open. That's a bit of an issue, because that's the entire thing we're doing. Mac and cheese in the car seat. Fantastic thing to open Blue Sky to. Post, yes. There we go. And where thing? There thing! Just for fun. Did I actually put those together? I almost forgot. For both times I've done this, I forgot to add the link. There we go. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. We all good. We all good. And yes. Yes. Yeah. Oh wait, no, I forgot one. Oh. And my phone's going off. That's not good. It's not supposed to. It's not good. Oh, did I? I didn't remember. Okay, so fun thing about this is I actually need a different skin because the layers don't work on the skin. I need to fix that. So now I have a new version of my skin that has no layers. Otherwise, it looks very weird. It don't look right. But yeah. Slowly get Minecraft open. I wanted to share my lunch. Cause, I love cooking. I love I love cooking, and I've been doing more cooking over time. And one of the things I learned that I'm apparently really good at is poached eggs. For some reason, I'm really good at it. The first time I did it, I was lazy about it, and just put it in my leftover pasta water. I think I was making ramen. I put it in my leftover pasta water. Or I might have been making just regular pasta. Anyway, I put it in the leftover pasta water. I did it again. I didn't change skin. I did the exact same thing again. And apparently, it turned out perfect. My mom's like, what the hell? This is your first time making it, right? I'm like, yeah, I just watched a video about it last night. I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then I did. But one of the things I found out you can make with poached eggs is eggs in purgatory. It is an Italian pantry dish. And this time I'm gonna actually remember to switch my damn skin. There we go. It looks goofy, but it's fine. But I made that again today, and I think I finally found the perfect mash of what I like to do. I haven't, hold on. I need to get the image on my computer. Because I just currently have it on my phone. Okay. This, yes, save. I also used some leftover ham because I went to a family get-together last night. And my family, it's always a potluck. Regardless of the get-together, it does not matter. It's always going to be a potluck. Anyway, I have some leftover... Oh, that's a big picture. That's not what we want. You get to see, like, a glimpse of the ham for a little bit here while I'm slowly but surely. There we go, my lunch. And it looks semi-fancy, but it's really just tomato sauce with a bunch of herbs. And I did the tomato sauce and butter, added a beef bouillon cube and some olive oil. Sprinkled some Parmesan on top after, because I got really lucky last time I went shopping. I found a nice big Parmesan wedge for like $4. Could be cheaper, obviously, but that's a pretty damn good price. But yeah, nummy lunch. Perfect. Absolutely delicious. Burp. Get rid of this. Alright. Today we're just doing a fun mod pack. I have had my eyes on a mod for a little over a year, I think. That's a Skulk Magpie origin, because I have a habit of finding the deep dark, whether or not I'm recording. For some reason, it's really easy for me to find. And that caught my eye. And so I'm like, you know what? We're gonna make a mod pack around it. And so I did. This is mostly an exploration mod pack, and because of the origin, we're actually gonna start in the deep dark. And then I have a few little resources and textures to make it look cooler. No shaders though, I don't want it to be running horribly. But yeah, I think that's it. So let's get right into it. And I have already done a little test, and I played for like a half hour, and I had a bunch of fun with it. It's super fun. Also, I know for a fact the deep dark, it spawns an ancient city like underneath you, so it may be really messed up. When I was doing the thumbnail one, I had to find a second ancient city, because the first one was half underwater because it was intersected with a water cave. Mod pack. Smile. Yeah. I got no qualms with any of this. But yeah, I got no plans, no goals. I just want to see what happens. Some of these mods I know, some of them I just don't. I know at least half of these mods. This is a mod pack of a total of 105 mods. 98 of them are actual mods, and the other 6? That's not right. 7 are resources. I do have one shader for thumbnails, because I really love using the Insanity shaders. Some of these structures I know. I'm using some of my favorite structure mod packs, which include things like Explorify, Awesome Dungeons, all the Awesome Dungeons, Youngs is obviously a go-to. We do have Waystones, we have backpacks. I'm trying to think of other important things. There's one that's kind of important that will very quick. You'll see it pretty quickly. Because there's a little thing about being a Skulk Magpie. If the game would load, I would love that. It takes forever to load. Because it also has to teleport me down. I wish I made tea. That's what I forgot to do that. I need to add tea to my list. Because I do not have any more black tea, and I will drink black tea like there's no tomorrow. Right now, my go-to. Oh, there we go. Skulk Magpie. It completely affects how you play the game, but I do get night vision, which I am very happy about. Also, I get resistance if I have an ingot or shiny ore in my offhand, and because we spawn in the deep dark, I'm probably just going to keep some diamonds in my offhand. I have experimented. I cannot put I have modded shields. I tried to get modded weapons. I couldn't. I think I managed to get modded bows. But a diamond shield does not count. It has to be an actual ore. One of the yeah, I can't. The wardens are passive to me. I do still trigger everything. Oh, I lay eggs when I sleep. I forgot about that. Egg. Cute one. You are smaller than the average player with a tint of blue. Also, villagers fear me and iron golems will hurt me. I'm extra vulnerable to arrows and I'm afraid of pumpkins. I'm afraid of people wearing pumpkins. Anything with a curse enchantment will give me Wither 2. Be careful of fire, you could get roasted. Food won't do anything to recover my health. And skulk parts demand XP instead. I need XP, which is fine because this is a exploration mod pack. And I can't wear anything below like diamond. I have to wear diamond or netherite, which is fine because we spawn in the ancient city. Game? Oh right, it has to teleport me down. Game, would you like to load? Minecraft? The sun. Remember it, boys. Remember it, people, because we're not going to see it for the next hour. And there it goes. Let's see if I remember my hotkeys. I think it's this one. There we go. But if you can tell, we're a little closer to the ground than normal. I am a very tiny boy. I am just, if I crouch, I'm a block tall. It's fantastic. Also, I added some more mods since the last time I tested this out, so I actually have a crouch somewhere. Somewhere? I think. Oh, isn't it instantly bound to, like, X? I can't do that because it's my free cam. I need to change my free cam. I shouldn't need free cam too much, though. Let's just... you. No. Let's toggle the waypoint. O? U origin. P. So I don't care about no social interaction screen. Where's that? P. Social interaction. Yeah, I don't care. You get denounced to J. Was it not? Was it not X? What is the crawl? What is crawl? What crawl? What is? Or did you take forever to open? Because I know I added crawl. Crawl. What button crawl? C key. Unbound by default. I just barely saw that. Can I find it in mods? Mods? Crawl. 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 There's... What else do I have for my damn C key then? What is C? C, 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 C? The hell C? Just crawl. Open backpack. X. C isn't working. And V is my night vision. Do I have to move my night vision over? No. What do you mean I can't crawl? What do you mean? There you are. And I have to slowly wait for CurseForge to open again. I should have checked this sooner. I should have handled this, but no, I didn't. This is great. Just the technical difficulties that I have at the beginning of every goddamn stream. Crawl. Usage by C key 1.17, by B key 1.16. Why the hell would it be B? Buh. I got Skulk. Now let's switch you to X. Buh. That doesn't make me crawl. None of these buttons make me crawl. Crawling was pointless. Crawl, it's right here. It's not bound. Screw everything. It was at the very top. I just didn't see it. Where? There you are. B. B. I want to know, can I get under a half block? Oh, so I have like slow following. Can I get under? That's a little laggy. I want to know if I can get under a half block. That is my goal right now. That's what I want to. That's what I want to know. Because I have a feeling that would be absolutely hilarious. Like, I have to be able to, yeah? I gotta first test this. I need to know my limits. I also kind of need to somehow get Stone Age. I have a feeling we're gonna get... This is so laggy. I have a feeling I'm gonna get tools before I get... Or diamonds before I get Stone Age, though. Also, speaking of, diamonds. My hope is... What I had happen on a test world is I managed to get a hoe. And so I just obliterated all the skulk. And because the skulk, well, covers everything, it gets around the diamond spawn rule of air exposure. So there's a bunch of diamonds just chilling underneath. I can walk through the skulk. What do you mean I can walk through the skulk? Oh my god. Oh my god. I actually didn't know I could do that. That's great. Also, this is a crazy cave. Why can I walk through? You know what? We're just gonna... Yeah. No, I'm not allowed to go up? Okay. That would have been a funny way to get up, but no. Where are things? You have thing for me? I want to be little... There we go. Also, we have Wilder Wild, so... I just gotta... Let me open that. Yeah. 2 god apples? Alright, I can't wear iron leggings. This is pointless. Oh, good thing there's diamonds. Oh, Curse of Vanishing. Right. I can't do that. Oh, wait. Do I need I need XP to heal, right? View origin. There's something- food won't do anything to recover your health. Your skulk part demands XP instead. No. Okay. That'll do. Let me just eat real quick. Nummy. Tastes like moss. What would skulk taste like? Because hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome. How's your day? There it goes. Barely noticed that out of the corner of my eye. Where is this? There's a chest. I just wish for it. None of this is helpful. I need tools. Okay. Wooden tool it is. Oh, please. I want up. I need wood. There's like nothing for me. Where's logs? I need logs. My favorite thing, number one thing, is why I love playing Origins, specifically winged Origins. I love elytra hopping, but I can't do that without risking a bunch of durability usually. So now I can just elytra hop all over the place. It's fantastic. The game is lagging. Also, yeah, it's a little busted. Also, my skin just looks ridiculous because I have to wear a non-layered version specifically for this, because otherwise, for some reason, this blue texture does not affect skin layers. So is this a pool? Okay. I just have a weird pink mouth on it, and it's just the funniest thing to look at. Well, I'm getting god apples, but none of that's helpful. The warden can come along, but it's just a big old puppy to me. Why do we have so many pools? What's going on here? I've actually never seen this structure. Can you comment? There we go. I've only seen planks. I know there's structures with logs. I know there are. Whomst. Whomstadove. Calm your butt. Calm it. Where? I barely see that there's more. I'm so tiny. I barely see there's more over here. At least I got like a mega jump for this. I know. I see no logs. Not a single one. I see there's more cave over there, but that's it. I have to slowly mine out each damn plank? Are you kidding me? With my damn fist? You suck. Okay, game. Torture me, why don't you? The ever so slow progression. Thankfully, you can use Deep Slate like a cobblestone, so this isn't too big of an issue. If the Mojang didn't think of that, then this would be a much bigger issue, but sometimes they actually think things through, so that's a bonus. So slow. I haven't gotten any ingots. I've gotten coal out of one chest, but I don't need... Actually, I do need coal. I should go back for that. That is actually a bit of an issue. Give me... I need wood. There's, like, nothing else here except these bare planks. And, like, a few planks back there, back over where we were. Like, way over there. There's logs! I could have gotten logs! But no, I didn't... Ooh! What you? Pray tell, what you? It's just a skull, okay. Why mouse slow? Mouse slow? Why? That's not right. Mouse, why? Mouse slow? Mouse right. Why slow? Mouse weird. Don't know. Really don't. Yeah, might as well just... Might as well. Might as well. This completely wrecks the normal way I play Minecraft, too. Where iron? Of course. Need a water bucket to get to the iron, but I need iron to make a water bucket. It takes so long. There we go. Iron. 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 No. See amethyst over there. Barely. Get to a high spot and then fly over, I guess. Also, when we get up to the surface, I have added a lot of... This is just rude. I can't, I'm too small to get out. And I can't even go through the skull. Oh, there we go, that'll do. 3 building blocks, hell yeah. Let me just munch on some XP real quick. There we go. Oh, now I can go through blocks again. I see more iron, I see the diamonds we saw earlier. But yeah, the overworld is absolutely beautiful. I have not explored anything. I just spent a half hour testing out this mod pack until I got to the surface. And then I had to head to bed for the night because I stayed up late testing it out. What? Oh. I know what I saw. Is that one of the cool things I like? Oh, no. I think it is. Okay, that is grassy Deep Slate. There's a lot of... Yeah, there's a lot of cool caves in this place. There's a bunch of cave biomes. There's like an iridescent mushroom one that I absolutely love. There's a rainbow one, by the way. There's a rainbow one, and it looks so cool. Yeah, shriek all you want. Am I not allowed to grab the coal? I would like coal. Love how I can just take a little bit. Oh yeah, you big puppy. Oh, you big puppy, did I wake you from your nap? Oh, you little baby. Yeah, he's passive me, we're fine. Worrying about it is pointless. We're fine. We're also skulk. We're bros. It's fine. We're chill. Finally. Iron. Is it literally One Piece? Is this the One Piece? Says a person who knows nothing about One Piece and barely anything about anime, period. I need more cobble or deep slate. Also, because of how low down we are, I think our best bet of getting out of here when we eventually do that, I want to make sure I'm in diamond first, since, well, we're here anyway. Might as well. Is to go through the caves. And I think that water cave will probably be our best bet, although I'm a little slower in water, unfortunately. Oh, there's way more over here. There's something, my wings get wet in water? Hidden power, feathered creature. After all, you are still part bird, meaning that your wings do most of the work for you. See every creature in your surroundings by shiftings, greedy, chilling in the darkness. One with the colony, what once was home. Okay. Cute one, living if there was something about water. What? The greedy bird has been infected by skulk spores. Yeah. Eyes of darkness, we've been actively using that one. Some small fragments of your wings are falling apart, but perhaps you can use 2 of them to create a new skull colony. Feathered creature. Okay. I swear I read something about water, but apparently not. I'm just imagining things. Can I? Yes, that's actually useful. That's what I want. So now we can use this to break apart all the XP, all the skulk, really efficiently and quickly. And usually there's diamonds hiding underneath it. There we go. This is what I want. I cannot be knocked down by the water. That's completely useless to me. Okay. Why am I starfish? Why? It's the Minecraft T-pose. Why is it doing that right here? Why? Okay. Okay, I get it. Air. Yes, air. Why? Okay. Oh. I need wood. Wood. Planks. Skip that. Give me the plank. I have no idea how this is gonna work out though. My biggest fear and concern right now, the main way I get netherite when I'm playing modded, I love using Explore. That's not what I want to do. I love using Explorify, which has black spirals. Except the black spirals are completely overrun with the oh so lovely piglin brutes, as well as piglins and hoglins and blazes. So I have no idea how that's gonna go. Not a clue. We're gonna figure it out though somehow. Don't know how. Don't know. Oh, need a bucket. Is that it? Seriously? Seriously? That's not what I need. Oh, wait, hold on, actually. I don't know if I could make this out of... that's more than I need. I do have the Explorer's Compass in this mod pack, so I do actually need redstone. Iron? Diamonds, I'll take diamonds. Are there any others? Do we have any more? Any more? Oh yeah, you big puppy. Yeah. Where are you even? Oh, there you are. Hi, puppy. You wanna come over hang out with me? I'm over here. I know I'm a little lightfoot, but I'm over here, bro. Over here? Where are you? There you are. Hi, puppy. Hi, puppy. You doing good, buddy? Okay. He just gonna chill. He chillin'. That's what he do. And you know what, we'll get... Oh, I saw that. I saw the diamonds. Give me the diamonds. I didn't even... I wish I realized... Oh. Yeah, he's passive. He's completely passive. He's not even neutral. He's completely passive to me. Give me that. That's 5. And now I'm gonna have resistance because I'm carrying diamonds. Nope. Useless. Yep, there's my resistance. But because I can... Yeah, I can do this... Oh no. I was thinking because I can, like, go through it, I could actually see the diamonds underneath, but I guess not. Well, that seems to be kind of... Oh! Well... That's a little busted. It's a little bit useful, though. Certainly a unique way of using that, though. And we're back over to this. Is there anything in here? No? Nada? It's so slow. Oh, you big puppies. And little cranky naps. Cranky naps? They're cranky from waking up from their naps. A lot of words that I should have added in there that I apparently just decided, no. We're gonna use text lingo instead. Cranky naps, yep. That'll do. Also, mobs. They're a little different. They're a little different than when... Oh! A little different than when we last saw them, if I don't stumble over my words like a newborn babe. I can make? Yes? No? Bet. Yes. Probably could've. Oh! Do. Yep. Come on, I just want iron. I literally just need this piece. So I can make a stupid bucket. And then actually, it's not even a question of where I get lava, or not lava. I know where I can get lava. Not even a question of where I get water, because we have water. We were gonna use that water cave to escape anyway. Slowly. Yeah, I still got coal. Okay. And it's like 8, 7, 5, 4, 7, 8, 9. 17 plus 7... Math, yes. 17, 7, 24, 24. 24 diamonds for full armor, yeah. And then let's add like 10 if we want to get some tools. Oh, that's just bad. Oh, wait. Give. Honestly, I'm just gonna pillage up. Pillage up and fly back over. Surprising amount of iron over. Ooh, I didn't jump that. I should have jumped that. Like, good thing I have the slow falling too, though. There's so much redstone. I think I might just use fantasy ores more often from now on. This is my first time ever using it in a mod pack. Usually I use grid ores, because it just makes it really easy for me to spot. But with the fantasy ores, I can see how much redstone is here. What the hell? I suppose it is like the only ore that is plentiful this far down that doesn't have a spawn condition, but still. Because lapis and diamonds have an air exposure spawn condition. Iron doesn't spawn plentifully down below like some odd 30-40. Gold is a little more, but not nearly to the extent of redstone. Gold is pretty even down the entirety of Deep Slate unless you're in a mesa. Then iron, the best is like, I think 16 is where the peak is at. Negative 16. And if you want to get the most out of iron and copper, then you go to positive 16. You can tell I've stared at too many mine charts for a little too long. Although I suppose when you have to mine down to the same coordinates every time, eventually you just start remembering them. Alright, looks like we're doing this the old-fashioned way. We're doing this my way. Expose all the skulk, in hopes that we get something. Eventually. Maybe. At least that's the hope, because otherwise it's just struggling. I still haven't even gotten myself an axe yet. Oh yeah, you puppy. Big old puppies. Oh, you know what I think of them as? They have like the same, like this is such a far reach, I'm very aware. But they have like the same stance almost as the dogs from My Little Pony. Specifically, the minor dogs in that one episode. M-A-I-N-E-R. E-R miners. We're down in crystal caves. There's redstone, but that's not diamonds. Diamonds! I got puppy at my back. Well, where is he? Where's the boy? There he is. Let me free you. Let's free the boy. Like, side by side. It's not that far off, is it? Don't mind me, I'm just preparing for when I edit this. I'll put those together in post-production, don't worry, don't worry. There's no diamonds! There's no diamonds! Why? Why? You got rivers of skulk and barely any diamonds. I call bold. The skulk gets around the damn air exposure. Let me have my diamonds. I got so many more when I did this last time. Granted, at one point I started just mining through the roof. Because we see a lot more on the roof. But this is just not a good spawn either. There's lapis. I don't need lapis. At least not right now. Shut up. Quiet with your sniffing. You're annoying. Get in through here. Oh, too bad this doesn't have mending. And I've already been in here. I know I have. Oh, quiet you. Where's the hell? Last minute censor. I full-heartedly intended to say something else. It's odd that over the years, or over like the past year, even just half a year, I've gotten way better at censoring myself. So even when I do intend to fully drop an F-bomb, half the time I just go, fuck! And don't even finish it. Or I'll cut it off. It's a slow progression, but it's definitely better than I used to be, dropping one every, like, 5 seconds. Oh yeah. Bucket. Where's an art? There's a water bucket. And this isn't even a good cave. It's just a water bucket. Are you kidding? Okay, there we go. Now we can actually survive in here. It's so slow, though. That's not even diamonds. That's lapis. There we go. There's nothing for me. We have 9 diamonds. We got a block to our name. That's no good. Is there anything this way? Kind of. I got 4 god apples. That's not bad. How long do I have to do this? How long must I do this for? There we go. I swear if this is a dead end. Oh, stone? And it's still a dead end. Wait. Yeah. I should have just made a door. That would have been a little better. Oh, but I still don't have an axe either. I need to make an axe. I might end up just making tools before I even make my armor. Because at the moment, the Deep Dark is pretty safe for some reason. Is there a reason why you don't see zombies, spiders, and so forth? There we go. Zombie spiders and so forth, spawning? Why? Why? Are we back? Hello? It's slowly going back up. I just looked at my site and it's not. It's in the red. What the hell? Are we here? I'm waiting for Twitch to load. Are we here? Okay, we're here. I don't know what the hell that was. Why? Okay. And we're back. Okay. My internet's being extremely weird. Every now and again I have that happen, and it's the weirdest thing every time. Because I have internet. I know I do. It's just being a weirdo about it. There we go. Anyway, internet problems aside, which make 0 sense, I am the only one in this house right now. And that's a rarity, and I've had better streams when there's been everybody in the house. And that's not a lot to sniff. That's not nothing to sniff at. There's like 5 people living here. There's still like no diamonds. What the hell? I just want to be a greeter, little boy, and get my diamonds. I can barely jump either. Shut up. Big old puppy. Where did you even spawn this time? Hey, puppy? Where's the puppy? Where's the puppy? I can't see him. My ability is not working. I assume the puppy's over here. There he is. There you are. Hi, buddy. You little sweetheart. Where are the diamonds? I'm seeing everything but. There's like 1 in the ceiling, that was it. The most unluckiest place. We've gotten 11. Last time I got like 40. Or I should specify. When I was testing, I got like 40. Oh, shut it. Hiya, puppy. Hey, puppy. How you doing, big boy? Hi. Mess with him a little bit. Off the roof. Off the roof. I know you can't die to fall damage. Come on. Oh, you butt. I could attempt to mess with them, but instead they messed with me. Just completely backfired. There's like no diamonds. What the hell? Granted, I think I've like completely failed to explore an area. I saw in the door, or in the wall, not the door. There are no doors here. We're underground. I saw that. Oh, hello. I'll take that. I like you. Give me. That's not diamonds. 1 diamond. 1. You suck. Why? Why? Also, I'm gonna turn up the music for people who are here live. There we go. Because if you're unaware, I got a VOD channel, and VOD channel doesn't get music because copyright. Why this in full action? I don't know. Oh, there's more. There's more. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. Because I prefer to get armor sooner than later. I am a sitting duck right now. Whoop. What's with the little bars, though? I see there's like a little bar here. I don't know what that's about. That ability? No. I just added it onto the skulk I have, though. Food. Pop, pop. Num num. I don't know. What? Is that my night vision? No. That just turns it on and off. I have no idea what that is. Boop, boop, boop. That's so far away. I really want to know what biome that is, because I can't remember it. There we go. There we go. Nice, nice. It does that on occasion, too. I don't understand, because isn't that like the effect for running on soul sand with the soul speed? I'm very curious why they chose that, because that's an interesting effect, and only happens on occasion when I'm mining stuff. Also, what's going on over here? What is this biome? Because this looks really pretty, and I want to know. There's like nothing. It's like none of it. Muddy river. Okay. I see more. There's like way more over there. Hello. That's gorgeous. I think that's the mushrooms. I'm pretty... Is that like a... Is that... Oh, that must be lush. That must be like clay. My first thought at looking at that, I'm like, is that a pair of ribs? Is that a rib cage? That's definitely not a rib cage, though. Diamonds? Diamonds! I see them, I see them, I see them, I see them. Woo. Went right through that. Diamonds! I might be able to get up high enough that I could just water bucket up there. I think I can, anyhow. Although slow falling makes this kind of precarious. But also, it's kind of helpful. Okay. Steal some of this. They better not have made the structure hollow. I can at least help anyhow. I'm really not sure. I think I'm just mostly going to explore and see what happens, because I know I've added structures in every dimension. I think. At the very least, I know I have, there's an end biome mod that I wanted to use in the past, but never properly played with. That I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm not quite sure. Don't know. I want to say never end, but that's not it. That is not the biome. Somethingscape? Nullscape? That sounds right. I think it's right. Perhaps. Nullscape? Nullscape, yes. I don't know. I do have... Oh yeah, we do have awesome... Yeah, we have Awesome Dungeons End Edition. I don't know if I played with that before. But it's a thing that we're gonna try. Okay, Mia. We still don't have enough for full armor. Are you kidding me? There we go. Knew it. Anything up there? No. Whomst. Chat gave you away, Pumpkin. Hi, how are you? I am a small lad. It has come to fruition. Oh, shut it, you big puppy. Oh, I thought I saw diamonds here. I didn't. Where's the puppy? Where is I? There's the puppy. Y'all wanna go say hi to puppy? Puppy! Hi, puppies. How you doin's? Boop. In big old puppy. Completely passive, and I'm all here for it. Feeling spicy today, so my inner thoughts are being said aloud. Oh? So here we go. Oh dear. I'm gonna warn you ahead of time. I'm turning this into a video, so... And this is still also going up on VOD channel, nonetheless. Whether or not it is a video. But I do plan on that. How many people do you think are... It is not... The number is definitely not 0. Absolutely not. I'm guarantee you people have already turned him into anime boys. Okay, we haven't gone over here, like, at all. I don't think so, anyhow. He's definitely on someone hear me. Yeah, that's fair. What? Oh, shut it. Yeah, I don't need... Wait. Pants? Pants that don't have curse? Curse! If I wear cursed armor... Is the Minecraft skeleton on yours? Oh, on the hear me out cake. Minecraft skeleton? Nah. I understand why you say that, but nah. Hello? What? That has to be a giant cave of a mineshaft. Where's the shirt then? Are you talking about the stereotype Sans Undertale hoodie I have? That, keep in mind, I did not buy but was gifted to me. I actually don't... I think I got rid of that. Where's the shirt? What do you mean the shirt? Oh, you said pants. Oh. Pants. Pants. Finally, more diamonds. Finally. I am very wary, though. I am weak to arrows. This... Well, let's go. Oh, we want to avoid those guys. Those guys aren't fun. No. Not today, sir. Not today, kind sir. Wait, do I have a boost? Is that what that... I don't know what the wing bars are. I really don't. I assume it's a boost, but I don't actually know. You know from... so then I made the joke of... Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Is that a zombie? That's not a zombie, bro. That's a Skellboy. Finally, more. And I swore I saw some diamonds. Ooh, wait, that's pretty. Hold on. We gotta get up there. My thing is lagging out so much. Oh, because it's a mine shaft. Chances are we could probably get out through that. Also, hello, this cave. Let me reload. It's not a zombie, it's a zombie. Ooh, pretty. So we must be under a forest and a taiga. Because that's a taiga mine. Okay. Young's mine shafts, if you're unaware, the mine shaft will correlate with whatever biome it's in. That's a taiga one for sure. This is definitely an oak forest. Or just like forest, period. Well, I have enough for full armor now. Oh, you... Let me up! What? Oh! Oh, wait! Minecart chests are entities. Hold on. I am suddenly yes, minecart chests are entities. I am suddenly a very broken character. I am suddenly very powerful. It's an obliterate. Ooh. I thought I saw copper for a second. My eyes are deceiving me. Chest. I would like some goodies. That's copper. Zombieville. Oh, wait. It has one of the rooms. Okay, so the youngs... Please, skis. Get through. My only thought is you're talking about when Green just shouted out obliterate. On Hermitcraft Season 10. Okay. Obliterate! Oh, there's a creeper that does that. I'm pretty sure. I haven't... Okay, so I have done a test of this modpack, yes. I played for about a half hour, 45 minutes. I only did enough to get to the surface. I didn't do a single thing on the surface. Give me... The one sad thing about... Oh, Pumpkin, you haven't seen me yet. Hold on. Oh, wait. I wanted to test this. I didn't actually test it. Hold on. I need stone brick anyway for... Yeah, it's an origin. We're a skulk magpie. I also have to make my skin non-layered because otherwise I just have a weird pink layer over the blue because the blue doesn't affect the layers correctly. I still need iron. I still need to gather iron. That is actually an issue. Let's do... I need to do so many things. I need to do so many things. Okay. Set up a little campsite here. I need to get enough or let's use some of my diamonds and get a diamond axe. Because I need an axe anyway. Oh, yeah. Also, I'm holding diamonds because I get resistance when I hold them. Let it... Boy? Boy? You're not gonna give me my resistance. You suck. Because I want to test something. So I have a crawl, and I want to know if I can get... Oh, my face was just in the floor. I want to know if I can crawl under a slab. Because theoretically, if I crouch and I'm pancake, true. If I can crouch and I can get under a singular block, then if I crawl... No, it won't let me! The Origins didn't think about that one. I could so fit under there. It would have been broken for sure. But I can already just tunnel anyway. I just have to crouch first. Ooh. Would have been adorable. Now, speaking of adorable, I have made a deal. I'm saying this again. I will reiterate this as much as possible. So I can actually hold up this deal. If I reach 500 subscribers on YouTube by the end of the year, y'all will get cat cam. I have a beautiful, very fluffy cat named Dusty. And I suppose face reveal, yes. There's me as well, but mainly people want cat cam. I need... You have fortune. Because I need cobwebs for the explorer's compass. Where? You. That's 2. Slowly but surely. Thank you, Nightbot. Give me that. I would like that. 20 coal. Also, I remembered last minute, I didn't originally have this, but now I do. I have messed with the stacking. Because I like Stardew stacking, so we have it set to 999. I have like 2 hours till I'm off, and I'm already thinking of making food of some kind. Ooh, what kind? Yeah. It's fun. I like Stardew stacking. 999 is a beautiful... It is perfect. I like it. If I remember things... Yes. Wait. What do you mean? What do you... Oh, it's crackstone brick. Oh, I don't even have to waste the coal. What am I doing? I don't have to waste nothing. We're in a mine shaft. This is... Oh, I missed a piece. This is the one place I can get crackstone brick in like 2 seconds. Yeah, literally. Where? Oh, there you go. Ooh, potato stew. I already sent you a picture, but I had my poached eggs. Oh, the funniest thing. So, weekends, especially right before we go shopping, my eldest brother has a tendency to just randomly text or come in my room and be like, hey, what do you want from insert restaurant here? And as I just got the tomato sauce in the pan, I'd already buttered the pan, I had buttered my pot, and salted the boiling water for my poached eggs. I hear ding from my phone, and I'm like grabbing, I think I was grabbing garlic at that point, because I realized, oh, I need some garlic in this. I'm like, I swear if my brother texted me about food, and I check my phone, it's from messages, open it up, hey, what do you want from Wendy's? So I had a nice tea. But I literally like just started on food. It was just at the point where there was no return. Also, hello, that's a lot of iron. Whoa! Actually, this is the right level for a bunch of iron. If not, maybe hash browns with the fresh eggs my coworker gave me. Ooh. True that. I'm trying to convince my ma to help me make oyakodon, because I have never personally cooked with regular meat. I've cooked with tofu, but I have yet to trust myself to do actual meat. I know it's easy. I know it is. I just haven't done it. So I want to convince her to help me make oyakodon, because I think that'd be really good. Your brother gives off the welcome to Chili's vibe at the best times. Depending on me, I could probably help out. Oyakodon is chicken. Also, I'm probably saying that with the most horrible accent, but whatever. If it's chicken or pork, you're fucked, I can't help. Yeah, it's chicken. It's a chicken rice soup dish. If I remember everything correctly. Also, this character model has the worst reach. What do you mean I can't pick that up? What do you mean? Nope, can't, yeah, can't grab that. That's completely out of my reach. And the other compass I can't really make until we're above ground because I need saplings for that. So I'm just gonna do that. You're not helping the short jokes. Dude, you're barely taller than me. That's not even like an under or overestimation. You are barely taller than me. That is a fact. Where am I? Still shorter. You're still short too, dude. I don't want to hear anything from you. I'll take that inch whenever I can. It's not even an inch. You're like half inch, if that. We are not that different in height. We both happen to wear... good shoes. And I have to wear good shoes because my feet are fucked. My legs don't like working when they're supposed to. I want to go biking so bad. I want to go biking, but no. It's a little hard to go biking when biking is painful as hell. And that's literally all my coal. You don't need that much. I wear Converse. They give 0 height. Fair. Not necessarily 0. I have to wear orthopedic shoes, so they give an inch or so. But even before I had those, we were still like the same height. Because I got those like end senior year or something, and the last time we compared height was towards when we met. I was wearing my typical sock shoes or whatever they're sock shoes, whatever they're called. Sock shoe? Don't come at me. Sock shoes are actually fantastic. I love them. They actually move with you. Most other shoes just kind of feel suffocating. Mushroom! Oh, hello, yo. The weird shoes I want to pair? What do you mean the weird shoes? Mushroom nuts. What do you mean weird shoes? Because that gives 0 description. And I'll just pop those in here. I don't need them. I have 0 wood, of course. Whatever could... Just let you finish your song and dance. For people that are here live, there is a non-zero chance that Rush E will randomly play, and I am not sorry. There's 120 songs, and it's about a 5-hour-long playlist. And if it happens, it happens. If not, oh well. Yeah. Actually, I should probably keep Skulk down here. Skulk is currently my food source. They're weird because you have, like, oddly long feet, so they look like socks that don't know they're able to fold in and not stay stiff after a 12-hour shift. I know the exact meme you're talking about. I can't find shoes like that anymore. There's a specific kind I got, and I can't get them anymore. Good. How dare you? You butt. Also, by the way, the only reason I'm not wearing armor is I literally have to wear diamonds. The good was to the meme thing. Oh. Yeah, I can't get them anymore. I can't find them. If you find them, I'll be happier than ever, but... I wish you luck on that challenge. Slowly fly over this way, I suppose. Like, there's gotta be stuff I missed over here, yeah? Ooh, special spider. Diamonds! That's fine. Because Warden don't mean a thing to me. Send me the brand name. I don't even remember what it was is the problem. Because I've never paid attention to brands. I just got it from, whatever shoe store sometimes is inside of Macy's. But even then, I can't really get them anymore because I need orthopedic shoes. Yeah, we're in chilling now over there. We're fine. I do have enough for full gear for full armor again. But I want to get more so I can always have one in my offhand, and I still need more tools. Also, hello, that's dungeon and a mineshaft. Okay. I'm already looking at, I found a discontinued shampoo and conditioner that was carried to a single place for my coworker, so I don't think shoes will be difficult. Hell, what is it called? I'm struggling to remember. Because I know it's not Payless. I used to go to Payless, though. But I know it's not Payless. There's a shoe store inside of me. I can't remember the name. That's what... I'll have to text you. I'll have to text you. Hi, buddy. Are those amethyst spiders? Those look like amethyst spiders. Yeah, can you take care of those guys, pretty please? Yeah. Yeah, take care of those boys. Thank you. Yeah! Yeah! Get him! Get him! Get him! Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Get him! Get him! Get him! Good puppy! Good puppy! Bro? Dude? Could you... Please? There we go. Thank you. BRB about to destroy like 40 ants that have taken over my counter. Oh dear. I wish you luck with the smell. There are no more diamonds! We're almost at 32. Okay. Half a stack. That's good enough for me. Doot. And then make most of the armor. Oh wait, no. And then this. And then I need a sword. And then I need a pickaxe. And that leaves me with a couple extra to hold. And I might as well. I have the extra. Let me just do that. And what? I can't pick them up, actually. Might as well just collect a little more. Regen my health casually, yeah? Num. Use up the last of the hoe before we leave. So I'm willing to bet you can leave through at least one of these mine shafts. Oh, calm down, you big baby. You big babies. Big babies. How long? There we go. Now it's broken. I still don't know what the hell the wings are for. Oh wait, actually no. I'm tempted, or I will make a shield. I will make a shield. I don't have the wood to make a shield. I can make a diamond shield, but I'll have to keep it on my hotbar and switch it when I need to do combat. Oh, there's diamonds over there that I met. Oh, what are you? You are gross, dude. And I'm just gonna go over here. This diamond's calling my name. Way back here. Oh, I love elytra hopping. Favorite thing in the whole wide world. Give me this. Give me this. Oh, hello. Hello, my pretties. Hello. How are you? I need to drink water. It's been like 30 minutes. Also, I think that went right into the mic. I apologize. That was even a nice sound for me to listen to. And I'm the one that did it. Come on! I truly am just completely embodying the greedy magpie that I am. Ooh, pretty. Shiny. So shiny. Give me. I even know that song. I just know the bare bones of the song and that's it. Ooh, that's it. Come on, I wish for wood. That is the #1 resource I've just completely lacked this entire time. Give me all this. Give me all that. I could probably climb up that way. That might lead to the surface. Yeah, out of here. I need to crouch if I want to crit, unfortunately. Which is such a fun predicament to have. You know, I was about to put down a second crafting table. I'm gonna reuse up the rest of my deep slate like this. And then do that. There we go. So now I only have that. I imagine god apples would still benefit me, yeah? I imagine they would, because it's an effect, not just purely food. Because food means little to nothing for me. And then me up. There's more diamonds over there, but I'm not sure if I need them. Get rid of that. Quite the renovation. Dirt. 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 Cobble. I'll take cobble. Golden apple. Riptide. Water protection. Gunpowder string. Golden apple. You know, actually I should take golden apples. Food means nothing to me. What's over here? Cobblestone. Why not? How's the warden following me? Not arrows. No, thank you. No, no, no. I should see. I'm gonna be real. I don't remember everything I added. Let me go. I gotta leave. I gotta go. Goodbye. 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 No, no, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. 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 You don't see me. You don't see me, you weirdo. I'm gonna chill over by the warden spawner, technically. I just wish. Yeah, I do. Frostbite bow. Yo! Blazing bow. Legia bow? Allium ingot. Iron ingot. More bows restrung. Oh, this just gives me more bows, not just a upgraded bow. Ender bow. Reinforced. Iron bow. Which can be put on top of anything else. I can put it on top of a crossbow? Nice. And then iron bow, I can put more iron with it. I'm not sure if I want to even deal with a bow. I like a bow, but I'm not sure if I want to deal with arrows and making sure I have arrows. I'm gonna make sure we have a bow just in case I do end up with a lot of arrows at some point. Actually, we've already explored the other one. We might as well explore the new place. Over here. Explore the new mine shaft, and if I can't get up through this one, see if I can get up through the other one. Just hanging by my feet. I'm not the weird redstone guy again. Why? Why? Why must I do not wish for that? Let me go. That's a stupid spider spawner. No. 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 Out of my water. No. Get out of here. No. No! 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 You butts. Y'all suck. I can't even heal. So I'm a little weirdo that needs to eat skulk and get XP. No. Y'all are butts. Num. Inventory isn't generated. Golden apple. Why not? I'll take a backpack. Backpack. Wait. Axe trinkets. Yeah. Backpack. Nice. Okay. You lot are going in there. Okay, cool. That's actually super helpful. There's like nothing to the spine chat. This is the main hallway. There's nothing to it. I mean, I can still get the cobwebs, but... Oh wait, no. This is the main hallway. This is the main hallway. It's just a weird stretch over here. Or maybe? No. That is the main hallway. That's sad. There's like no cobwebs over here either. What the? This is pointless. Wow. Actually useless. Okay, there's more cobwebs over here. I completely ignored them. There's just a bunch sitting right above. I need at least like 12, I think. Because I need 3 for each bow. Or 9. Because I need... Wait. I need 2 iron bows. So I want to make the Legia bow. And that takes an iron bow, which takes extra string. So I need 1, 6. So each of these is 6, and then another 9. 3. So 15, actually. So I remember destroying an army of ants when I find a stray candy cane with like 200 ants on it. Wipe down the area. You find more ants? The slow waiting of typing. Let me up. Let me up. I'm big enough to go on the big kids ride. There we go. I walk into the back room and get assaulted by a gaggle of old ladies. I appreciate the word choice. That is hilarious. Oh, there's a crafting table right here. I need to make a lot of these. I need to make 2, I think, is all I need, actually. And then make an iron bow is that. And I need to make 2 of those. And then I take both of these and an ingot. So what's the big deal with a... I'm guessing it's stronger? I don't actually know. I just made it, just in case. I walk into the back room and get assaulted by a gaggle of old ladies. Hitting on my coworker aggressively while listening on full blast All I Want for Christmas by Mariah Carey. That is a beautiful story. It sounds like the setup for improv. That's not even a joke. That does sound just like a setup. I don't know why I'm picking up more crafting tables. It's just a habit at this point. Ooh, that had coal. Okay, looks like we're trying over here. I have a boost! That's what it is! I have a boost! Oh my. Oh, I am unstoppable now. Maybe not as unstoppable. How do those refill? Okay, they slowly refill. Okay, okay. I washed my hands and ran away because I'm no way in hell touching that with 10.5-foot pole. That's fair. Ooh! Big boy. I was not paying attention. This one? Yeah, that's already one. That's one I've opened. Oh, it doesn't lead to the surface. Well, that's sad, but we got up to 2. My dyslexia is on. My dyslexia is on one today. Yeah? You think so? Oh, the poor glow squids. That might be a way up, though, actually. I wish it were an improv thing. I fucking wish, but it wasn't. Okay, this has to be a water cave, yeah? Like, this has to be. Okay, this is the worst water cave I've ever seen. There has to be a way out of here, yeah? Maybe this way? Okay, there is water cave, yes. It's far from a good one. And this just goes back down. Where? Oh, maybe that way. A boof. And slowly boost my way up. There we go. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Also, that's a lot of iron and coal. Hello. Try over this way, I suppose. Flap my redstone cave! Ooh, pretty. Anything this way? I've been waiting for this pinecone to drop since I moved in my new house in June. I check it every day. Ooh. We're at 44! We're almost there! Come on. It's so close, but it's not quite. Oh, wait. I'm gonna get it in my air, steal this with me. Come on. Somewhere. Okay. I think I'm just gonna have to mine the rest of this. And hope that we're not directly underneath a mountain anymore. Ooh, wait. We're getting somewhere. Sky! The sky! The sun! The sun! I don't need that no more. Oh, the lag. The lag is here tenfold. Oh, do I have the right video settings? Fast, yes. Oh. Oh, no wonder there's lag. Slowly flap my wings. Oh, there was so an entrance. There's so an entrance to that mine shaft. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's abandoned ruins? I assume. Seems like it. Well, unless it's just I think it's another biome. I'm so glad to be out of there. I get we're at 2,600, 4,200. Okay. Food is meaningless to me. We can't pick that up. And I had a fortune hoe, so I can't even like take Skulk with me and go. I have to eat XP to regain health, unfortunately. But do I still need food? I don't know if I need food or not. I really don't know if I do. I would assume maybe. Anyway, in the last 6 months, I have seen it slowly change color and process to grow 5 other. Withstand 2 horrible storms with strong winds causing rolling blackouts, and now the cyclone. This is 1 pine cone? 1. Also, hello lag, welcome back. Oh no, is it that? Oh, it's that one. I hate that dungeon. It sucks. Wait. Best thing about the crawl is I can get into this. I'm just face planted. I can't. Wait, hold on. In order to do this, I have to. Where did I set? My free cam is that. And then if I control player, I have to. Aye. Wait, screenshot. That's the thumbnail right there. If I truly want this to be thumbnail material, this is gonna be really laggy for a second. Oh, hell no. It is nighttime, no. We can do that again in a second. That's not the right one. This button. Oh, wait, hold on. 'Cause I'm a magpie, let's just slowly flap my wings until we get over there. 'Cause I can just fly up to that. Yes, the singular pine cone. Singularly pine cone. This pine cone, I swear, is gonna stay till the day I move if I ever move from this house. Anyway, it started growing another batch of 11 pine cones while this one stays at the very top. This stubborn little guy. Now, something funny I learned that's a family trait. Unfortunately, on both sides. Both sides of the family are extremely stubborn. So we've unfortunately got a double batch of it. Me and my siblings. It's just aesthetic. Imagine reading this on Tumblr and there you go, like, Jesus. That does feel like a Tumblr post. I love these biomes so— ooh, cave, hold on. Cave! It looks like pretty cave. Pretty cave? Pretty cave? Oh, the lag. I am not a fan— ooh, that's why it's lagging. They're so gorgeous. I have to go clear out the new batch of pine cones to make sure this one I can collect. Fair enough. I need a bed. That's kind of important. That may be something I want. Ooh, hot springs! That's not a bed. Oh, aren't there sheep over here? Are there still sheep over here? Anyway, love that trait for you all. Yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense. Definitely. Alright, I need a— because I have the slow falling, I need a crouch to crit anything. There we go. And I'm getting attacked. Fantastic. Ooh. Flap my little wings! I'm here, sheepy! Okay, I'm out of here! Goodbye. What is that? That's just trees. Fly over here. Those are pretty, though. Is that mahogany? Although that's just my reflex when I see, like, a red dark wood. Ooh. Ooh, let me go! I just want to make a bed. I just want to make a bed. Let me go. Okay. Bed. Oh wait, did I give myself comforts? Do I have comforts? Yes, I have comforts. And then we can dye the bag in a second. Yo! Gotta go, phone about to die. Alright, I'll wish you luck, bud. I forgot I make an egg when I sleep. Anyway. What is it? Oh, I can make fried eggs. Tsubaki? Orange dye. That's my guess, at least. That is gorgeous. Tall cherry sapling. Where's a creeper? And that's a random structure. I can recognize some things and not others. Ooh, minis. I just want a red flower. I just wish upon a star for a glorious red flower. There we go, red flower. Please actually be red, please. Poppy bush. Yes, red. Red dye, red bag. I've been running around a lot. You'd think I need food, but so far I haven't. I'm not going to worry about it too much for now. I think I'm literally just going to fly around and we're going to see what I can find. So far there hasn't been a single structure. Immediately proving. Is that a pillager factory? Oh, wait, no. I know this one. I've seen this one. I haven't personally explored it, but I've seen it. It's, like a mine house. Oh, it's an inn! I'm too short to read the sign. Lothric Inn. Where were you last night, huh? Is this... Oh, wait. Oh! It's got nothing, but... Ooh, wait. Oh, I forgot this has my favorite block, so we have Wilder Wild. It has the null block. It sounds so good. It's such a cool sound. I'll have to show that. There's a lot of food we can make. I added food and I supposedly don't need anything. Oh, there's an armor stand on there. It's weird the things that count as entities and that what don't. Oh wait, can I fit in the chair? Did I add sit mod? Yes. What? I can't. I'm in the... What the... I can't even see above the table. POV. 5 foot. Okay. And tiny little guy. Yeah, a little bit of coal. Just a tad. Oh, there is something back there. Diamond! I'll take. Oh, right, I added a mod that adds, that will take modded stuff and actually throw it in with the loot. Cooked end fish. Okay. I'm gonna grab bread just in case I do need food, because my hunger bar is slowly going down, but I did also have some skulk, so... Actually, wait. Take a little more skulk. How often can I... I can do that kind of often. Slowly regen. Do I need copper? I do need copper to upgrade my backpack, don't I? No, I don't. No, I don't, actually. I need gold. I have enough diamonds. So I do need to go get gold. Ah, gold. Ooh. The next best thing next to something shiny. Is there anything in here? Is there actually a room in the inn? Yes, there is. Okay. No. We're gonna stop for a moment. And I'm take a little break because we have been streaming for an hour and a half. I will be continuing this. We will be continuing this hopefully for quite a while longer. I'm gonna do a little RB. I'll turn up the music. If this is the VOD, then go ahead to the next timestamp. I literally... Oh, there we go. Yeah. We'll be right back. Alright, we're back. Sorry that took a minute. I went to go love on little Dusty boy. Adorable kitty. He's sleeping in the next room. Just a little sweetheart. And of course it's nighttime. Okay. Oh no! The bed doesn't know what to do. Oh. Bed doesn't know what to do with my character size. That's a good spot for the mic. Okay. Well, this is the thing I tried to land on earlier. This is actually, completely unrelated to literally anything we're doing. Passion project. This is kind of style I sort of want to go with for, the spawn town. Gold! This way, this way, this way. I want- oh, there's a child somewhere. Or it's probably one of the new zombies, because some of them have the child sound effects. This is kind of the style I want to go with. Are these kind of like framed houses? Is that an actual child? I can't tell. Flap my little wings. No, you can't get me. Oh, there's a... oh, that's one of the underwater ones, but it's mostly above water. Nice! Don't mind if I sweep on down here, because these have really good loot. Hello, noise. You know what? We're gonna start grabbing gunpowder. Hello! We're gonna start grabbing gunpowder if we see it. So I can eventually... oh, there's my cat. Cat scratching at the door. So I can eventually make rockets. Come on. Come on. In the room. Please. Dusty. Thank you. I don't have any treats in here, baby boy. That's what you're going for. We gotta go to the other room. There's nothing in here. What are we doing? And to my laundry basket, of course. I have a clean laundry basket. And I just wear, like, the same, night pants every night. And so Dusty's been loving, sleeping over there. And sleeping in my laundry basket. Because he just loves being near my clothes. Scent of the humans, so on and so forth. Or scent of his human. I could go so far with this. Hello. I got no arrows, so I can't really find anybody here, but... I knew that from last time. They have a smelter on top of there. Why? Dude, die. There we go. I can't remember if there is good loot on here or not. Also, are those pillagers? No, those are like busted mobs. That guy has regen effects. Oh, there are pillagers. Yeah. But the ones that aren't pillagers have regen. Was there a coral down there? Must be like a coral cave. Alright. Nothing else I want here. Oh, there is a thing over there. I know it has loot. I can't remember if it's good loot. I just know it exists. Can I get this? There we go. Not soon enough, though, apparently. Oh, there is loot. I saw a barrel. Barely. Can I do this fast enough is the question. Before I get attacked. Diamond, gunpowder, bread. Out. There we go. Okay. I don't have... Get me out of here! Get me out. I haven't made a boat. That's a bit of an issue. I should do that, actually. And boat. Oh, there we go. I still have like 0 plans for this. I don't know if I want to do a base. I don't My main goal right now is just to go through the structures, I suppose, and just see what happens. Because again, some of these I know, some of these I have never seen before and got no clue. Although I'm trying to see if I can find ones I don't know. So far, everything we've seen, I know of. What's going on over there? Oh, it's cave. Okay. Just cave. What? Trader? Trader? I'm so short. Are you my dad? You my dad? Father! Father, come back! Father, come back! I can't walk like this! Father, come back! Come back to me! I can't. Okay, what's in... I don't, you know, I'll take the oak. I don't have a lot of wood still. I should do something about that. Mud? Is there anything? I haven't seen, like, any structures. Let me zoom out my mini-map. So if there is a structure on the map, I have a better chance of seeing it. These are beautiful biomes, though. Absolutely gorgeous. Hello. Imagine how much laggier this would be if I actually had the leaves not on fast. Because I know that while the game doesn't think it contributes lag, oh, it definitely does. Oh, it absolutely does. I have solved my lag problems by simply turning the leaf or changing the leaves before. And the game doesn't want to load. Oh, not ice. I get enough ice on the Passion SMP. Come on, man. Come on. Oh, it's purely ice. Hold on. Can I just go boating? Let me just go do. I actually found that song. While I was building up my stream playlist, I actually found that song. It's like a rugby song. Weirdest thing. Let me see. If I make a video, or if I'll pull up a picture on the stream. Hold on. Because it was like rugby music or something. Hold on. I know I sent it to somebody. Hold it on. Because it was so bizarre. Where the hell is it? Or did I not send a picture to them? Did I just tell them I found it? Probably. What? Discard! Let me scroll. Where? Trance music for racing. There we go. Let me add the image. Hold on. No, not cancel. Image. There we go. Not image slideshow. Image. Can I literally just copy paste? No. I need to clean through my screenshots. I have too many screenshots. This song is the do-do-do-do song. And it's really weird that it randomly showed up. Granted, this playlist is mostly just like video game music and meme songs, so I'm not too surprised, but also, I didn't expect it. Alpha Grove! It's the old trees. It's old trees. Hello. That's a sight. Ooh. Can I make it up that high, though? I don't think so. Oh, maybe. Possibly. I have 3 more. Come on. I know I can make it. I can make it! Oh, I could so make that. Yeah! Yo! Ooh, lag. Come on. There we go. Hey, buddy, what you got? Ooh, that's some goodies right there. Hey, I got enough to upgrade my backpack all the way now. Grab it from my slot. We can upgrade that to iron. Excuse me? Backpack. Iron backpack from normal backpack. Iron backpack from normal backpack. Oh, there we go. I'm blind. And then take most of that. There we go. Doot. There we go. And now, room. We got a bunch of slots too. Oh, I should actually make those. Hold on. Because I know some of those are useful. Because I know there's a crafting table slot. I know there's smoker, smelter. There's a bunch of slots that you can use. Backpacks. There we go. We're all the way at the bottom here. Everlasting upgrade. Can't despawn or fall into the void. Advanced filters. I don't care about that. There's a stonecutter upgrade. I don't think we're going to need that one. Tool swapper. Jukebox upgrade. I'm tempted to make the... That's funny. I like that. Smelting upgrade. And there's an auto smelting too. Auto smelting? I don't... Can I not craft the auto smelting? I don't think I can. Auto smoking? Apparently I can do that, but it won't let me craft the auto smelting. Okay. Auto blasting can be made that way. Crafting upgrade, that's easy. But the upgrade base takes leather and string. So I'll have to keep that in mind. Yeah, okay. Throw that right there. Oh, I need to remember villagers are scared of me and that I need to be wary of, I need to be wary of iron golems. Because they don't like me. But this is a good way for me to get resources, so. So yeah, I can't trade with villagers. Or they're supposed to be scared of me. Yeah, I literally can't trade with them. I'm clicking. I physically am unable to. Glass? Glass chalice. That doesn't seem to do much of anything. Is it just a placeable? No. I don't know what that's for. Hello. I'm taking your stuff. You know, I'm gonna take this. If I want the upgrade later, I'm gonna need it. I need more water because I've hardly drank any. Alright. I love that there's a bunch of emeralds too. I got emeralds on the bottom. So pretty. I should be killing cows too now that I think about it. If I want to get leather. I could always go through more. Ooh! I could always go through more. I'm gonna pick up gold in case. Currently I don't need it, but I may need it for something later, and I'll kick myself in the butt for not picking up something sooner. You know, I'm gonna take these. These are mine. I can make food out of that. I'm almost to where I need food, but I don't know if I actually do still. I don't know. They just have random chairs everywhere. What the hell? White chair. Ooh, stonecutter. You know, I will take it. I will. You never know. Sometimes I kick myself in the butt for it. for not having one. But it can be really useful at times. Damn it, I got the hiccups. Obsidian! I'll take obsidian. Hobby. That's a room. That's a room. I don't know why you didn't just place the door right there. That would have been a smarter floor plan choice. So tiny. Another one of these. I'll take bread. I'll take more bread. It also helps that I haven't... Nah, I'm not gonna take a second one. It also helps I haven't been really running around either. So there's been... Oh wait, my food's back up. Does it take my health? I think it takes my health. Cause I didn't eat anything. Okay, so I don't need food. Food is pointless. I added Croptopia for no reason. Okay. I want to at least find like a chest to put the food away in. If I don't need it. There we go. Literally no use for food. Cool. This button gives me more. There we go. It does make a profit though. It takes health, but it does make a profit of what it- there we go. What it gives me. That's a voice crack. Hello. Yeah. Do something like that for now. Oh, it's a note block, not a... I was hoping it was a jukebox. I think that's everything from this place. Oh, wait. I missed that. Let me up. I want to break free. Stupid cobwebs. There's a thing. Oh boy, I have to be careful of the iron golems though. Those guys will attack me. So I can't really get down low, but I can see if they got any goodies. They do not have goodies. I love Carry On. Oh. Hi. Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just gonna steal a bed so I can have a portable spawn point. We're good? No iron golems on this level at least? I can't just move blocks, right? Yeah, boop. Just want to place. I can hope for good loot, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Okay, let's get out of here before my butt is kicked. I want to check what this is though. It's just hay bales. Okay. Ooh, cows. Cows. I need leather. No. I got things chasing me. Hold on, I need leather. Oh, you'll suck. You suck. Get out of the grass, please. Bonk. Oh, they actually fall apart. That's cool to see. On little branches. Okay. It's so weird not carrying food around. There's so many weird but fun things out of this. It's something I'm tempted to do in the future if I get like really bored. I've been having fun going through Skyrim, just doing focus-based playthroughs. So like starting Dark Brotherhood with like nothing kind of stuff. So far, I've done Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild. By far, Thieves Guild is far more fun to do early on. Low level. than the Dark Brotherhood questline is. Although I did have to grind did have to grind a lot of sneak levels and general XP because I physically could not get through one of the final dungeons without doing that. I need string. Let's go to this real quick. But I'm really tempted to just do that one of these times as a stream. Maybe I can do that for anniversary. It's completely unrelated to literally anything else I could do. But we are currently... We are 2 months away, I think? Almost to date, actually, 2 months away from my stream anniversary. Because it's January 26th. I'll have to poll and ask the community page on YouTube and the Discord what they're interested in. Or if you have an idea and this is the VOD channel, comments. I look at all my comments. I look everywhere. If you leave a little something, I will say hi. Or at least I will usually go ahead and like comments. I will like comments. Okay. I want to make some upgrades for my backpack, so let's do that real quick. Boop boop. Anvil upgrade. Experience pump. I'm not sure. That might be a good idea. I'm not sure. Battery. Tank. Some of these I just can't craft. Tank doesn't do anything. Clicking tank doesn't do anything. Stack upgrade. Multiplies the number of stacks that can fit in a slot by 2. Yeesh. Void. Void items selected and filter. Okay. Refill. Smoker. Stack upgrade 4. God damn. Okay. I don't need feeding. Okay. So I mostly just need basic ones, yeah? I'll make that. As long as I remember Cobweb's Corner, we should be good. I want to make at least 4 of these. 1 for each furnace. And then the crafting table. Boop. I don't know if I can use mold. Oh, then we can do the stonecutter too. And that makes all of the upgrades. Or all 5 upgrade slots that I have. And I think I have enough. Yeah, I barely have enough to do that. If I remember right, there is a problem having multiple furnace upgrades. You can't have multiple at a time or something like that, but we're still gonna do it. What the? Experience sophisticated core. Okay. Okay. Crafting, stonecutter, furnace, smoking, blasting. Crafting table, I need... Boop. And I might actually have to go for iron. There you go, crafting table upgrade. So that's done. I already have the bow. Oh, I don't have any redstone. Okay, yeah, we gotta find a cave. And we're pretty far from where I was. But we could always head back that way. See what happens along there until we get there. What? What? Also, old house, but I'm more concerned with the floating stone and gravel. Meh. Also, waystone. We're gonna take this. I'm actually gonna set... I'm so much shorter than this. Wow. We're gonna take this waystone and set it at... There's another one over there. Okay. I'm gonna take this waystone and set it down at the deep dark. Ooh. Hello. Items. I need, like, none of this. I'm actually getting rid of stuff in it instead. Okay. You know, it's always good to keep an anvil. It's always good. Okay. And my voice is getting more gravelly and I hate it. Waste shot on me. Let's do this. Alright. Where home? Because we were, like, around here, yeah? Somewhere around here? Temp waypoint. I'm hoping we can come across another. Oh, this place should have a waystone, yeah? It should. There we go. So I can. I just want the waystone, sir. Sir, I just want your waystone. Please, dude. I can't even. You know what? Let's lead him over here. And then I can fly back over. Where did he go? What? Hey, buddy, over here. I need your attention. There we go. Oh, wait, that's bad. That's not good either. Haha. It's just far enough away. Come on. Come on. There we go. That gives me a little bit of iron, too. I'm slowly getting used to the floatiness of this. Slowly. Very slowly, though. Let me just take this. Because it's not exactly safe for me to place in the village. Where can... There we go. Wanted to place that somewhere. And I don't think there's a single thing that could be used to me here. Hello. Hello there. Boogaloo, do you have the goodies? No. Never do. Okay. I could hope. Slowly do all these. There we go. Oh wait, there's a cave right there. Question is, I don't know. I do want to go back to the one we were in, that we started in. Hello. You know what? I'm gonna set the waystone up there. This actually is far from a bad spot for me to set it, because I'm a bird. Floating island. I don't know. Floating island. And then go to the other place. I don't even know if that's like a structure. It just looks cool. This is... I wonder if the VOD's gonna end up really laggy? Because I'm guessing that stream is probably kind of laggy. Or if it's gonna end up clear, because sometimes I'll have a really laggy stream, but the video ends up pretty damn clear. It came somewhere out here, yeah? Because this is where... Because it was this little cave, yeah? I know somewhere towards the water, too. Because we immediately saw the flowers and it was the first thing I commented on. Oh, did I mine up or did we finally find a cave up? No, we did find a cave up. We did find a cave up. I think it's right here. I think I've literally just been walking back and forth past it. Is it this? I don't think it's this. Is it here? No. I can't get rid of the temp waystone or waypoint though. Well, I had a temp waypoint. Options. Alright, it's gone. Cool. Where is this, though? Boat, I guess? Boat? Bow? Bow, bow, bow? Where? I know we were down near the water level. Is it this? No. So that's a water cave. No, it wasn't a water cave. But I did come up around this area. Or no, I went up. Oh, we're over on this side. We're over here. Yes, you. That I recognize. Yeah. Here. My magma block's still floating. Heal a bit before we go home. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Okay. And then down here, I stole the magma block from over there. Yeah, right there. Then, yes, you. And while I'm right here, gonna take some iron. Before those guys notice me. Oh, a little too late. Alright, we're good. For a moment. No. Oh my goodness, why? Yo, plush! I finally made it! Hamilton is playing. Nice. This is chaos, but it's definitely controlled chaos. There we go. Oh. There's a half body. And little things. Can we stop with all the mobs? Can we cut it with the mobs? Can we chill, please? Can we chill? The cheapest tickets are like 100, which is whoa. Yeah, that is, bro. That's definitely cheap for tickets. Oh, plush. You wanna see me? Cause I am officially small. I am so small, in fact. I can fit under this block. Small. And a little bean. Unfortunately, we have tested. I have a crawl feature. I cannot crawl under half slabs. It won't let me. We did test it, but I cannot. As you should be. That's fair. Pumpkin has already taken the chance to make a bunch of jokes about me being small. Get smaller, duh. I do not know enough modding to fix the player size. I don't know enough of that. Right now, we're just trying to get me some materials so I can make backpack upgrades, because I need redstone and a few other things. And we're heading home! All the way down here. Home! Home sweet home. Oh, I love being able to fly. Oh, wait. Alright, I'll take it. There we go. Good, it's at the top of my list. Oh, I can't do that. I want that to be a full block. Give me that. There we go. Boop. Give me that. I have like the smallest reach though, which is very annoying. How long is stream? 2 hours, which is usually when I conk out, but no. We still going. I want to play more. I am very happy with this. I need redstone. Yeah, we need more redstone. Redstone is a major component for like all of these. Thankfully, that's extremely easy to get. I need murder. You want to go spawn a puppy? There's a really nice puppy we can spawn. He's just a sweetheart, I promise. Let's go spawn a puppy. Where's a puppy? And possibly nap time. We can wake up some puppies from their nap. Puppies! Puppies! Yeah, puppies! Puppies! Come on, puppies, come out to play. Puppies come to play. Puppies come to play. It's fine, I'm eating. Literally, though, I do have to... Oh, I didn't generate this one? Yo, I'll take it. I literally have to regenerate and get food. The, stars. Via XP. I do not need food. My food is just slowly... There we go, there's a puppy. Vibes are bad, you're killing puppies. What do you mean? The puppy just showed up. Look at him. He's just a sweetheart. Because I'm a skulk magpie, that is the origin. Wardens are completely passive to me. Now I've hurt the puppy. Now you can be mad. But as a puppy, he's just a sweet thing. He's just a sweet little guy. No apple juice for you. I can't even drink or tea. How dare you? Actually, I don't even have tea right now. I have a pitcher of Thai tea, but I prefer it with milk, even if it's just a splash, but I only have literally a splash of milk left. Hope you burn your tea. I will allow that. Yes, Automod. Let's make the blast furnace thing first. So then I can use the blast furnace for my... iron. Also, I'm pretty sure we literally can't use all of these furnace upgrades together, but... I'll have them. Because I have no need for, like, literally any other upgrades. What? Oh, the warden just went back down. Okay. What else need? We got the blast, smoke. Okay, same thing. Same stuff. There we go. Because I'm pretty sure we can't. Oh, we can. Okay, we can. I thought we couldn't. Don't know why I thought that. Same thing. Got it. So I think the stone cutter is the same as the crafting table. Yeah. And I want to move the blasting upgrade, but I need to wait for it to be done. So gotta wait a sec on that. There we go. And that's all my upgrade slots. I do want to reorganize these, though. I don't like how they're organized. Sucks for me, I guess. Waystone. That way. And back to the surface. Although, shopping is tomorrow, I can finally get more tea. I've been out for a couple days. And even then, I was sparingly making black tea. Okay, just go north and we're gonna see what happens. Oh, there we go, now it's done. Just gonna casually reorganize while I'm flying. No problems here. I don't even need the smoker upgrade, but I made it anyway. I don't need food. I should... Bonk. I should refill what food I do use. Oh, hello. The lag. It has returned. With a vengeance. Oh, hello. Wonderful caves. Actually, I want to see what 0, 0 looks like. How do I get coordinates, read coordinates right? This way. I want to see what my spawn would have been. Because we are hella far out right now. Yeah. At this point, we're mostly just adventuring around, seeing what will happen. Just having fun with it, really. Oh. I've entered the void. Is that I saw a trial chamber. I saw that. I saw that. I know what I saw. I saw that. I'm gonna head straight down and there will be a trial chamber. I know I saw copper. Unless I'm completely wrong and it's one of the new cave biomes. Which it very well could be. Oh, hold on. Gotta eat. There we go. MEP. You can take a nap whenever you need, plush. I should have the VOD up tonight, because I just literally I have the thumbnail already, so. I need to remember. We took this, we took a screenshot earlier. I need to save that. Save, no, not save as. Save as that. There we go. So, save that in my screenshots. I forgot I wanted to get a screenshot in the daytime of me doing that. We just crawled into a... Mew? What? We wanted to get a screenshot of... Oh! Well. This is not what I thought it was. Okay. That's not where I need to be. This is where I need to be. Oh, these guys don't count as entities for me. I can't actually see them. Okay, when I crouch, I can see entities. What did you just do? What was that? Did you just do a flip? These guys are too powerful for me. Oh wait, can I just boost? Can I boost my way up slowly but surely? If I double tap and slowly... Not really, no. Let me just... Oh, we have a water bucket! I have agua. Use agua. This takes forever. I need to start collecting sugarcane and paper. If I had rockets, we'd be out of here already. But no. At least I have slow falling, so this isn't as bad as it could be. But it's still incredibly annoying. Also, my water could freeze at any time because we are in a snow biome. Oh. Not again. No. Yeah, like that. One. We're almost at the top. No! No, not that! That's what I was worried about. No. No. I'm not falling all this way every single time. The slow fall. You kidding me? So annoying. Okay. Give me this. Of course. Come on! Okay, I can get out from here. That's... What are you? Oh, you're a creeper. Questions immediately answered. Get me out! Get me out! I want to... Ooh! I know you! I know you! I forgot I added boss as a mass destruction. Hello, boy. In the middle of a village. Aren't you guys unlucky? I gotta be careful of the... Oh my god, lag. I gotta be careful of the iron golems. They don't like me. I don't see any nearby. Ooh, god apple, I'll take that. There's not really much loot down there, I'm gonna be honest. All the lag is very slowly hurting my eyes. I can't do it very consistently, but I can slowly get food. Come on, give me. There we go. Whoop. Into the sky. What are you? Oh, I don't need food. Okay. Useless to me. These used to be my bread and butter. That specific house, because of how many hay bales are in it, but it's just... At this point, it's just not useful for me. Oh, I know. This VOD's gonna be so laggy. Just because playing the game myself, it's laggy. I'm losing my voice. Slowly but surely. Maybe? Useless. You know what we're gonna do real quick? Because I've been playing for a while, and I know this is the best way for me to fix when it's not... When it's being a butt and my computer's lagging out. We're gonna completely close it and reopen it. I wish I had tea. But I just have my water. Modpack. Today's episode, I was gonna buy from this Etsy person when I got my check. Tuesdays after messaging this person, their account is deleted. Damn. Did I just see an ad for Meow Mix? Okay. The only reason I know it was a Meow Mix ad was I just saw a bunch of dancing cats. Like CGI dancing cats. Okay. It was for a gift too. Oh no. I need to start really working on gifts. I have gifts planned out for both my besties. Because I've slowly been gathering up stuff for them. I have a decent idea from my ma. Why is... Oh, there we go. Game's opening. I have a spreadsheet. That's... I'm not surprised. The problem is, with my family... You see, I have a lot of siblings. I got 4 siblings. Yes, I will allow that. I have a lot of siblings. And I have, for lack of better words, in the most basic summary of him, my dad is a workaholic. So, and then I have a brother who has everything he could ever want, and the only thing he wants that he can't have is a house. He has the money for it. The housing market is just that bad around me. And if he can't afford it, it's usually something that's in such disrepair that it's not worth the money. Because he has a fair amount saved up, so we barely get a list from him. I've been lucky the past few years that I've been able to find something for him that he doesn't have, keywords. That he doesn't have. My other brother is very picky, and then my sister and brother-in-law are They're parents, so their whole focus is on their kid, which respect. Yeah, get that. And then my nephew's idea of his list is we get like those toy magazines, right? And he'll go through it with my mom, his grandma. He's like, I want this, 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 I want this. He wants every single thing in that book. We do have accurate list for him, but his favorite thing in the whole wide world is Where? I got stuck. His favorite thing in the whole wide world is Spirit Halloween. His birthday gift was like a 7-foot tall animatronic. The game is so stuttering. Hold on, we're gonna render distance. We're turning that to like 6. Oh, hell no. Max shadow distance, no. Let's turn like all of these to 6. Ooh, much better, okay. 2.5 hours in, I've learned how to fix my game. What else stutters? Your face. Yeah. Paper! Paper! I can make rockets! It's only like 9, but I can still make some good rockets. That took forever. Okay. If I really need to, we can get out of a jam now. Is it? I know there's a- yeah, there's another floor. I know there is. And there's a chest hidden, kind of, all the way back here. Paper! I'll take it. Do they still hide stuff back here? Or is it just kind of BS? Because these villages used to be really good. They were like busted good, but since I think it got changed between 17 and or 18 and 19, it got changed, and now they're just normal village loot. When it used to have like hidden diamonds everywhere. Well, let's move to hidden emeralds. The problem is I can just crouch and see all. Hello. I can crouch and see all the item frames. Boop. Slowly flap my wings up the hill. Is there any of the churches? No. The church is my favorite thing in these kinds of specifically these villages. Yeah, it is this one, the Snowy Tegas. The church is just absolutely busted. Because it's a giant parkour. At last I knew, unless they also changed that. It's a giant parkour. That has some really good loot at the top. Problem is, it's one of those parkours where it layers over itself, so if you mess up... It's Bennett Foddy. It's Bennett Foddy parkour. If... Oh, wait. Bounty board. Where? I don't care. Tinted glass decree. Bring this to a bounty board. Sharpness, clock. Decree from someone's setting off fireworks. I'm guessing this is what I need to bring, and this is what I'll get return. I do like the idea of arrows, but I don't think that I necessarily want any of those. I'm so small I go through... I think you normally go through the fences. What would really prove if I'm small is if I could go between 2 walls. Like, excuse me. Heck out of here. Stone cutter. Boop, boop. How small am I? This is the true test. So you're not supposed to be able to do this usually. That's how small I am. Okay. What house you? Oh, it's a basic house. Yes, I will allow the word bite. no, 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 no. I forgot about the iron golems. Automod hates you. Yeah. You are a lovingly aggressive person, though. Automod just can't handle you. What house this? Big house. Why? Oh, there's waystone. I'm gonna steal the waystone. What's going on here? Oh. Oh! Wait, wait, wait. This actually might be a really good one. I can't quite remember. I don't know. Oh no. Is the... Yes, it is. I mean, I can just crouch through this, so... There's painting up there. I think that... Yeah, I think this is a good house. Hold on. Yes, it is! It is! This actually has really good loot. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Where's... I don't want to break the item frame, so that's annoying. There we go. Gold. In case I want it later. No. I want it in the stonecutter. Oh, shift to player's inventory. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want that. I know. There we go. Oh, it's useless now. There used to be a chest in here for really good loot, and now it's just a singular emerald. Well, that sucks. Oh, another bounty board. Anything good? Trident. Would that be good, though? Zombie and coal. Get stone shovels. Some of these are good, some of these really aren't. That's kind of good, actually. Prismarine? Because isn't that just really... Yeah, it's a drop. From, we're just, like, super far away from an ocean, though. The last one I know is way over here. But that doesn't have the correct thing. There's, like, 3 bounty boards over here. What the hell? Any log. Arrows. If I bring them enough sticks, I can get a bunch of arrows. I actually like that. Hold on. Cut down tree. Gimme. Gimme, gimme, gimme. There we go. Yeah. Cut down 1 tree, I give you a bunch of arrows. What now? How? Oh. Oh! Can I do it multiple times? No. I just want more arrows, bro. I have done more research. Oh? What about? Take that bounty. I want arrows. I don't know what a decree does. You know what? We're gonna do that. Using Etsy to promote their business. Oh, they have an actual business, whole website. Oh. I'm gonna make a magical guess and say that's against TOS. Oh, come on, you. Probably, yeah. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, that counts as the tree. Okay. Boop. That's also pine. Let's do the sticks first. And then I need more planks again. There we go. Are you kidding me, dude? Chill out. Oh, they got stuck. That sucks for them. I mentioned them about international shipping. They talked about adding extra snacks and such because the international nation cost was so high. Oh dear. Oh hey, you might get something extra out of it, at least. Give me these. Skeleton converts to stray. And that's enough. Okay. Actually, might just convert this. Like so. Oh my goodness. That's why that's good. That's why that's good. Okay. Okay. That's why. I mean, I just crafted that not knowing what it was, but that's good. That's actually really good. I mean, I already budgeted for high international shipping. It's to New Zealand, so like pretty far. Yeah. Ooh, nice. And then this? What does... Bring it to bounty board? Oh, it gives me... Oh! It means it has better stuff now. Okay. You know what? What we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna leave a waystone here. Fletching bounty. I don't want that below home sweet home. Okay. Any log. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that, no problem. It's giving me such easy things. What the hell? Also, I'm gonna check again, but I think we're... For the face reveal / dusty cam goal, we are almost halfway there. We're at 242 subscribers on YouTube. Let's slowly get in there. Alright, yeah, just slept. Nope. Nope. Goodbye, sir. Goodbye. Goodbye. Gimme. Yeah! Bounty complete. Slowly hop my little butt over. Oh. Guess that's gonna be turned into sticks. And that was for a decree, so add the decree to this. And now it's got all 3 decrees. Ooh, fletching tables and mutton? I can do that. I could do that. Say no more. Junk. I want my arrows. Actually, I should keep iron up there. I don't really need it. I don't really need coal either. See the villagers staring at me from over. Okay. Oh, I got flame? Hell yeah. Alright. I need to see if I can get some bow and just the bow enchant itself. Those are all flame. I want to get... I would love to get a power bow. Because I can't actually... The problem is I can't trade with villagers like this. I can turn in planks for arrows. And then this needs planks and... sticks. That gives me some more arrows. And none of these will give me a decree. So apparently a lot of their social media is gone though, so I'm gonna ask what the flip, because this is yeah, that's very suspicious. That's not good. Looks like I'm gonna run around for some mutton real quick. I'm still kind of shocked at how good this bow is. I am loving it. Ooh! I might be able to actually get some flint from this place. Because this is just a little inn. But I think I'm just gonna get berries and sugar. No. Oh, there's some cobwebs. I'll take a golden apple. I can use those. Oh wait, jukebox. Hold on. We're taking this with us. Poison, slowness, strength. I want... How much string do I have? 2. I want a little more. I got another bow. Is there any more cobwebs, please? Pretty please, come on. I need literally 1 more cobweb. Are you kidding me? Bruh. Why? We need cobweb, mutton, and gravel because I need the fletching tables. Any gravel down here? Oh, wait, wait. It's my Yo. Rainbow Caves. Is there any gravel in Rainbow Caves? Does the Rainbow Caves have gravel? Gravel? I see ores, I see dirt. I don't see gravel. I forgot they ding when you walk across them. These are so cool. But I just need gravel. That's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I require. That's all I desire. Oh. Can't drink water if I don't have it open. Oh, it drops dye? Wait, what is that? Oh, it's just... clusters. Gravel! Oh, wait, more gravel. That's 1. Too bad I can't really hide under here. But I can do this to get away from the slime. Come on, I just need more flint. That's 2, 3, 4. Okay. We're all done here. There we go. Boop. I love the boost. Boop. Slowly boost up and away. Up and away. And now I need sheep. I need mutton. Mutton. Mutaton? Mutaton. Sheep. Lamb. Another word. Cow. I don't need cows anymore. I have enough leather. So I only want another upgrade. Where are the... I see there's stuff on the map, but I haven't seen any of them yet. B. Hiccups. That's all great. What the hell? Come on! Come on. Well. Well. Well, okay. Well, I'll be damned. Well, that's something. I've run out of wells. There's so many animals there, but none of them are sheep. Oh, what the hell? That's party. That's not sheep. What the hell? I just want a sheep. I just want a sheep. I see cows. I've seen plenty of cows. There's more than enough cattle to go around. You know, I'd probably have an easier time if we just went right back for this place. There it is, right that way. Because there was mutton there. Oh, wait. Wait a second. Wait a second, there's one right here. Okay, well, I don't need that anymore. Mutton? You're not one that's gonna have mutton. There is a building that one. This way. Come on. I don't know. Will it be enough? What was the bounty? I didn't even collect the bounty, did I? No, there's none. Nada. I had pork. Where am I? There. Fletchling bounty. I should make a waystone. Or not waystone, warpstone. That should be on my list to get. So I do need things that are also sus on SE items with no reviews. True. Very true. If it's got no reviews, I just don't trust it. Don't even bother with it. Oh, there's two! Mutton! Mutton! So much mutton! Okay, we're- wait. I want that singular emerald. Okay. We're good. I got everything I need for that bounty now. And I'm traveling extremely fast. I'm surprised the game hasn't tried to crash me yet. Oh, the past few days have been so weird for me. Because for once, I had literally nothing to do but wait. I've slowly been rewatching through... I needed 14, are you kidding me? I've slowly been rewatching through Digimon, because I was finally able to log onto the damn family Hulu again. Oh, there we go. I should actually take the I should actually take the bounty this time. Yep. Just sleep real quick. But this weekend, I made sure I rushed through editing. Well, egg. Chicken! My baby? No, it's just a baby. Okay. It'd be funny if it realized that it was mine. Anyway. Or if it knew. It's like, oh, owner. Mutation CIP, like a dog. I wanna see what is this? It's adorable, whatever it is. I've just walked into some guy's house. That's what's happened here. Just ransacking guy's house. Anyway. I made sure I got the video out Thursday. I finished recording like Wednesday night. Spent the entire day Thursday editing and got it out late at night. And Friday, I had nothing. I had nothing to do. Because we got new members for the SMP, finally. I'm gonna be recording with tomorrow? At least meeting one of them tomorrow. Or meeting proper, I should say. Woo! Maybe I can get some more bounties over here. Yeah. Also sheep, which is important. Nope. I don't need this one. Oop. I gotta be careful of the Or golems, though. Oh, that's a... Okay, so that's a pillager factory. That's a great place to have a... in the middle of the village. Almost the direct center. I just want to check the bounty boards. That's not what I want. Wait, how does this do against them? How many hearts? Most of their hearts. Good to know. I can't... Does that use 2 arrows or 1 as well? 2 arrows or 1? It uses 1. For 2. That's actually really good. I can't... Librarian. Okay. Nope. Goodbye. Oh, I've been so... There's the shepherd's house at the other village. I've been so dumb about this. I could have gone and killed the sheep there this entire time. Instead of running around with like a chicken with its head cut off. Oh yeah, I was saying. I for once had nothing to do this weekend, so I literally just spent my time relaxing for once, and it was very weird. Their account got suspended because it isn't handmade. Oh dear. Expand on that. I'm very curious, actually. Can you expand on that? So Etsy is taking down all food-like mystery boxes. Oh! You know, I can see why they're doing that. I see why. I don't know if it's justified or not, but I do see why. Yeah, I already stole the waystone from here. Okay. What is this one? Fishing. Don't care. I want to come over here. I have a bounty. Bounty. More arrows. Rabbit stew. Steak. I don't need food. I don't need food is the issue. Oh, logs. Yeah. I'll have logs, but I can do that. I could do this one too. Oh, that one I can just ASAP do. And boop. And then get rid. Power 1 bow, don't care. I have a much better bow. And then that gives me straight up arrows. So I need everything. I don't think it is, because getting Asian food boxes as someone with no access to Asian snacks is a challenge. Like the ones near me are anime and or for Americans, high sugar and super strong, which, you know, not the vibe. I see that reasoning, but I also see that Etsy is a craft website. At least that's what I know it as. And there are definitely other places to sell food boxes. I think Etsy has a very good reasoning, or has a understandable reason for cutting it out. TikTok says they're counterfeit. The food boxes or Etsy period? We need a little clarification there. How many logs do I need? Log. Okay, 4. Their account. Oh, their account's counterfeit. Oh dear. Well, that's not good. Oh, no, not again. Well. That's not good. And but yeah, food boxes are cool, but I don't necessarily... When I think food boxes, I'm not gonna think Etsy. I think they got targeted because they had a lot of reviews. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Although I'm taking this with a grain of salt, because I am not in this field at all, and I only really have you as my point of reference. Although people are just weird sometimes. Because there are times where, like, oh, this thing's popular, it's not good, but there's also times where, oh, this thing's popular, so it must not be good. And those are two very different situations. There you go. I got some minerals out of that. And none of the... And that's just flame again. Okay. You know what? I actually have a lot of XP, and then we have the chipped anvil that I could put flame. Oh, I have Swiftney too. Let's add that. They go on the pants, right? Yeah. And then flame onto the bow. Nice. Like, those aren't even taken down and are very popular. I mean, insert all people reselling techno merch or stolen art. True. I can't remember what I was scrolling on. I think I was just looking through concept art or something. Or just like a funny comic. But I got like an Amazon ad of Rambo merch. Except it was very clearly stolen art turned into stickers. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it. It was super obvious. Let me fly. Pretty please. There we go. Slowly but surely. I already went in that house. Bounty board? What bounty's here? I should grab that waystone. Librarian. I don't care. Wee. Oh wait, did I check this one? What? Fishing. Don't care. So many villages got stuck in there. Fletch. Oh, fletching! Oh, there's... Okay, hold on. We're gonna move this up here. Oh, that's a lot of arrows. They didn't just sell snack boxes, though. They also handcraft keychains. That's their main thing. Okay. Now I do agree that Etsy is unjustified in that case. If... I could see a way they could be justified if in the background they were asked to stop and didn't because they are asked to take down the food boxes. But the snack box is a side thing because the person appears to be Asian. Okay. I see that. I do agree with that. Bounty board. Let's do that. We're gonna take this bounty, we're gonna take this one, we're gonna take that one, we're gonna take that one, and gonna take that one. Oh, some of these don't have a lot of time. Stick and target. How do you make a target block? Isn't it like dirt or redstone and hay bale? Do I have enough? I do have redstone. Okay. This one should be easy because I just have to run around. Oh wait, we can just literally go over this way. We can literally just run over here to the house that is literally full of hay bales. Or this one. There we go. And because I have crafting... Oh, crafting. Crafting. There we go. And I need sticks with that, so we're just gonna... Oh. Yeah. Boop. 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 I love the boost so much. It's so good. Turn in that bounty. Is there anything else that only has a little bit? Of course it's flame. 18, 27, 13, 32. So that has the most. That has next. Or let's do that. Yeah. Flint 32 and any planks. I've been doing fir wood so far, so I'm gonna keep up the fir wood. So I checked Scam Voids to see if their website is legit. Oh. I'm loving the drama of this, though. What? Beef Wellington, okay. I don't know why that's in my recipe book. I don't know why that's the first thing that decided to pop up. Ooh. Up. Puppies. it has low traffic volume, probably because it was all in XC, but they don't find it being blocked anywhere, and it was made about a year ago. Ooh. Just a weird case all around, huh? And then I need flint. We need to go back down to that cave. Oh, another poor sucker got stuck. And the reviews I remember on Etsy, they had really high reviews. And it just seems kind of weird. They responded to email super quick. Yeah. 10 minutes, goddamn. Respect to them. Something funny as hell. I still keep getting comments on... I did a promo on TikTok for Passion SMP to get people on, right? And I still keep getting comments about it. And sometimes, if I'm like working on something, I'm like, you know what? Let's let them wait. If they can actually wait. Because I've had problems in the past with promoting something. And if I don't respond within a certain amount of time, people start spamming me. I'm like, yeah, no. No, no, thank you. Although there's a surprising amount of people, I've asked for like one thing. I now added like a little more onto that list of requirements before I let people in, but... like there's the one thing I ask of in the video, and it's, are you content, like, this is for content creators, and I've gotten so many comments that are just like, asking, like, I'm not a content creator, can I join? So I'm like, no. You're the 4th comment to ask this, no. You'd think you'd actually check the comment section first. No. So I think it's like a pretty legit business, right? Yeah. It sounds like it, or if there's like the extreme rare case that they're overdoing or like making it seem like they are, but that just sounds like a legit business to me. There we go. Yo, yeah. But we got 2 new people on the SMP right now. Yeah. I just one then. Okay. I need to check the comments again though, because I know I saw earlier somebody did comment. I need to check up on that. Okay, extra research. I wish you luck. As we slowly tend to this gravel. Something I've been doing with my newfound free time, and also while I'm just doing busy work like this, I watch both Pokemon and its rival, I suppose. Although it kind of phased out, so maybe not rival per se. Digimon. But I'm definitely a bigger fan of Digimon than I am of Pokemon. I never fully got into Pokemon. I'm not a card game person. That's a lie. I'm a traditional card... I never got into the card game of Pokemon. Where did it all went right here. Give me all my gravel back. It's just flying everywhere. Do I need to just dig myself a little tunnel right here? But I did get really into the show of Digimon. You're small. Yeah. I did get into the show of Digimon. I, as a kid, watched through... Okay, I'm putting a block behind me. As a kid, I watched through Season 1 and Season 2, and when I could find... I watched through Season 1, and then I knew of Season 2. I think I might have watched it as a kid. And when I finally went around to watching through Digimon myself, I at first didn't watch through Season 3, because Season 3 is a complete reset of the world, if you're on a... What? Where is all of my gravel going? What the... What? Why is it up there? What? Why is it up here? What? 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 How? I don't understand. I don't understand. Anyway, Season 1 starts the Digimon world. I found their Insta, it's mainly their keychains. Nice! Season 1 of Digimon starts the main world. Season 2 continues some odd, I think 4 or 5 years after the Season 1, with the same cast, but adding in new characters. And Season 3 is a complete reset, and implies/shows off that Season 1 and 2 is considered a TV show and game series in Season 3. Has it all gone up there? Where is... It's all gone right here. Okay. And Season 4 is another hard reset that I never got into. They have eBay and Walmart accounts, they said. Oh! Do they know? Like, most recent was from August, which is for very small business. And eBay and Walmart accounts, they said? Ah! Nice. The point is, I've rewatched the show. This is my 4th or 5th time rewatching through it. Season 2 will always be my favorite because of how they wrapped up the show and built upon Season 1. Because they do it in a very regal way. There are some, like, little details. Like, Mimi, one of the characters, I barely recognize this. I only knew because of, like, prior knowledge and paying attention to it. But there's a very brief comment from one of the characters, Mimi, about, like, a Digimon evolving, and it has, like, oh, blonde hair. And Mimi's like, oh, that blonde hair looks beautiful. Season 2, Mimi's dyed her hair to be a strawberry blonde. Which I think is such a funny detail. And I have no clue if they intended that or not. Found the store in Walmart? Nice! Hopefully you can find something there. Hopefully. Perhaps. But it's funny the little things that come back. How much? 32. I have 5 minutes left on this now. Okay. It was adorable rewatching through it. And it's interesting because at this point in my life, I've had interest in psychology, and I love just, like, paying attention to all how the story works, how they figured out the plot, recognizing, oh, like, this anime was built off of 10-episode arcs. In large part. Those kind of shut down later in the series, but in large part, it's 10-episode arcs, which I think is fantastic. And they even oh, turn in bounty. Turn in bounty. We're going. Although they find a way to make it not feel like that later on. Because if you're paying attention, you can realize, oh, this was a 10-episode arc if you're actually watching the episode numbers. But it's just a beat of a bigger plot later on in the Season 1. So far, Season 2, I haven't seen the same process. Oh, wait, no, we're up there now. Right. But it's still cool to see. And it's interesting to pay attention to, specifically, this is something that just interests me, is paying attention to the dialogue. Specifically, these are a bunch of kids, yeah? Kids definitely pay attention and listen and parrot what their parents say. So it's interesting seeing, I need gravel again, are you kidding me? Was it direct gravel? Yes, it's just regular gravel, not flint. And then an emerald. It's interesting paying attention to what the kids say and knowing that they've learned those words from that household and how they treat each other in certain ways. And it's also interesting seeing the details of their households, because we meet their parents. We see their parents later on. We can see that their parents actually do mimic this, and they did that so well. It surprises me a little bit. eBay says they have sold 117 of the boxes. Ooh. That's a lot. my Discord's going off. That's not good. Where's more gravel? Wait. Yes, that's gravel. Gravel. I have like only so many minutes to get this. Shouldn't have done that. Come on, I just need this. Bye. Gravel? Gotta check the Discord in a moment. Yeah, because I sent something silly. I can't see the Discord! That's from- check Discord, that's from their Etsy page. I wasn't paying attention, clearly. There we go, turn in. Go, gotta go. Flap my little wings. What the hell? What? Oh, it's my backpack. That just looks really funky from the back. Okay. Bounty. 2 emeralds and more sticks, and then fletching tables. I can almost do the fletching table. Stone bricks. You suck. Thank you, Nightbot. Do stone bricks first, because that's gonna take a second. How many? 53. Actually, I have enough for that. Hold on. So let's actually smelting 54, 53. Coal is up here. I might as well just do that. And so that's gonna be smelting while we go and get more gravel. You know, while we're coasting, because we have like a bunch of time for the other ones. Ooh, nice. Am I going? Yeah, I'm going the right way. Not bad. Yeah, that seems like a really credible business. That is kind of confusing. I need to regen so much health. Oop. Come on. There we go. A boop, a boop, a boop, a boop. Doop. Give me. I don't have it in my way. Oh. I got no more, are you kidding me? Give me a piece. Oh. I'm glad they were legit. Also, they are legit. Nice. Your box was very customizable. Nice. I'm gonna be honest, if I think of food boxes, I just think of the stupid Papa Pickle. Just filling up the food box. Big Papa Pickle. Big Papa Pickle. Big Papa Pickle. That's all I can think of. Like, I could pick a drink to how many ramen packets I wanted, candy and chip bags. Nice! Technically, I get a food package every year. My childhood best friend is half Japanese and she goes and visits Japan every year to see family. And every year she'll ask, hey, what do you want? This year I asked for a Azuki bean chocolate bar because I love red beans so much. Sadly they couldn't find that, but she did bring me back some red bean paste that I can just add to anything. I still have it. Also brought me back some hard candies that I'm still slowly working through. I instantly ate some of the hard candies were milk flavored and it tasted like borderline like a vanilla. It tasted like marshmallow. I loved it so much I immediately went through all those. I think the flavors I still have left are like grape and strawberry. I think there's a mango. Oh yeah, that's enough, that's enough. Did I need gravel one? No, I just need a fletching table. Okay. It's gonna be weird playing on the SMP after being so low to the ground for 3.5 hours now. This is the longest stream I've done in a hot minute. This mod pack actually might compete for the longest stream I've ever done, which as far as I remember, to date is still 7.5 hours of Subnautica. Nothing else I could find online could compare. That sounds like a really good one. Right. That's still going, but I can start smelting or cutting them. And then fletching tables. 3 fletching tables. 1, 2, 3. Might as well keep that in my inventory. That is such a beautiful color of wood, too. Point that out for a second. Gorgeous. Emerald sticks. I can make more sticks. Yes, that's crafting tables. That's not sticks. That is in fact not a stick. And those are all cows. Not that. Getting a little paranoid of iron golems. I know they're a mystery, but still, I like having semi-choice. That's fair. I think I like the idea of having a choice, but getting mystery flavors, or the other way around. I feel like that's a good way to balance it. 10 minutes left on that, and we still have 15 on this, so. Yeah. I think that's a really good way to go about it. Something funny. When I was working at the boba place I used to work at, we have all the recipes written up, right? And they were in 3 different sections, with so many per section. So if I didn't know what I wanted to have that day, because we could get a free drink or 2 while we were on shift, as long as like we weren't making a lot. Grab that, why not? Go run around for that because it's easy. Yeah, that's everything here. Okay. I gotta wait on the bricks anyway. That's why I wanted this person so bad. That's fair, honestly. I go over to whatever coworker I had that day and be like, pick a number 1 through 3. Sometimes they know what the hell I'm doing. Sometimes they're just really confused. So I'd pick a random number and be like, okay, and look at the board, count how many drinks are in that section, and then like, oh, pick a number between 1 and 8. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm having this drink today. I haven't had it yet. And they're like, what the hell? One of the nice things about being there. What's funny is the coworker I still kind of, in a way, hang out with from there. I actually spent like the least amount of time with, which I think is so funny. Because one of the coworkers actually, I only had some odd 5 or 6 shift with. I had, and they gave off like hella scary vibes. Because keep in mind, we were wearing masks, and then part of our uniform was like, oh, we had to have a hat. Or at least, like, have our hair up. Regardless of, like, how much hair you had. How long your hair was. That's an interesting way to say it. Regardless of how much hair you have. Cena near me has bingo nights? Yo, that actually sounds nice. I love bingo, yeah. I play a game with my mom and her friends called Bunko. It's a dice game. Which is also a potluck. Let me take, thank you. They said if I wanted to make a custom size to let them know. Oh, nice. Alright, scary coworker. They gave off a scary demeanor because they also have like a resting bitch face. Like me and most of my friends. But like the few times we actually got to talking, they're just a really chill person. And they left a little bit before the place closed down, because they got out competitioned. They left a little bit before the place closed down, but I got their Instagram and TikTok. And so now we just send each other videos all the damn time. That is the one coworker I actually talk to anymore. I don't have resting bitch face, I have a resting depressed face. Oh no. What's funny is when I'm on calls with friends sometimes, they'll like look up from the call and because we'll like comment like, oh, you're judging us or something after saying like something a little out of pocket or a little weird. And they're like, oh wait, I have that much of a resting bitch face? I'm like, yeah. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Look, is that enough yet? No, I need 32. Take it forever. This is almost done. It's slow, but surely. Oh, I forgot how much of a jump I have. Immediately forgot. I got one piece of flint out of all that. Mining all that. How much time do I have left? 10 minutes, 16. Okay, we're good. We're more than fine. I think I will cut off the stream at 4 hours. If we even make it to that. I'm admittedly like slowly getting bored of this, but I am genuinely having fun. These bounties just got me hella sidetracked. Because I don't want this VOD to be too long for my computer to handle, or too long for my editing to handle. I want to work on Passion SMP so bad, dude. I did a little bit. I did like minor off-cam work, just doing some landscaping, and upgraded the spawn shrine. I want to work on the floor plans so bad. I think I'm gonna lay out some blocks just so it's easier to get started on the town. But I think that's the oh, wait, that's enough. You know what? I'm taking this with me. I've needed gravel so much, I need to just stop running back and just keep it on me at this point. Oh. When did I get yellow dye? Oh wait, my stone's done. Okay. And that's both of them. Okay. Give me all the arrows. Oh. Nope. I have so many bows. Alright, how we're gonna handle this is we're just gonna do this for a second. Slowly but surely. There we go. There you go. I had flint in my... of course I did. Of course I would. Okay, we're gonna sleep real quick. No iron golems? No, okay. And then I want to go to the pillager factory. Egg. I want to see what's up with the pillager factory. It looks like such a place to put a building, but there's nothing there. Yeah, we're on the right way. Wee woo. I got flame mofos and 340 arrows. Come at me, I dare you. Because I got all of y'all outbeat. The only thing I gotta worry about is the iron golems. I can't see anything. Where's the entrance? There's a lava pit there. What the hell? To Woodland Mansion. Am I not allowed to open it? Oh, it's a Woodland Explorer map. Take that. Ooh! Ooh, that's not good. Wait, hold on, I got a munch. 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 You have thorns armor or something? What the hell's going on here? Oh wait, can I just... No, come back over here, dude. I wanna just hit his feet. Ankle biter! Is this the front door? I want to go through it proper. Bonk. Bonk. Oh, no. Well. I forgot, it's an old version. I instantly get the effect. Well, I'm safe in here. Oh, no, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. Oh, it gives me an arrow back. I think? No. What is going on? Okay. You know, I'm gonna leave the raid for next time, me. Cause I gotta go. That's a problem. Oh, that's a problem for me next time. That's nothing. That's a problem for next time. I'm just gonna munch on some food, make some food, munch on some more food. Oh yeah, I'll deal with that another time. We'll deal with that another time. I gotta go. Next time. I definitely want to continue doing that though. I seriously enjoyed that. Give me random quests. I did not expect to like bounty boards as much as I did. But then again, I have like 400 hours. Is it 400 hours at this point? 200 hours in Skyrim? Something like that? No, it is 400. I was wrong. It is 400. I got 400 hours in Skyrim. It kind of makes sense. I would love the quest board. Alright. That's it. I got no notes. I'm gonna keep working on Passion Project. We have a new member, so this next episode will probably be me working with them a little bit, or at least introducing them. Maybe helping them out, because I want to see if they want to go get an Elytra or defeat the Ender Dragon, so I could respawn it for us. But yeah, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Okay.